This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Our focus today is on new developments on the Tesla Semi. Tesla had a trip to Germany with the Semi led by the head of the Tesla Semi program. And while there, he actually did a really good job of a conversation with the head of the Pepsi program. As you know, Pepsi has 100 of these vehicles. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, would like some better ideas on investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. So, usually shows ideas come up and we kind of knock them out in a week or so. This idea has been sort of germinating for almost a month. So prior to getting into our show, I wanted to review something that I call the Donner Party accident in the mountains near Lake Tahoe. So every day, at least 2, but as many as 10 Tesla semis from Pepsi to Tesla and others goes past an area called the Summit or Donner Pass. This is a famous place in California because around the gold rush in the 1850s, there was a group of people who were supposed to do a trip by wagon train from Nevada through the Sierra to Sacramento as they became part of the gold rush of the 1850s. They missed their time window for getting through these mountains. And so therefore, instead of getting through successfully, they managed to hit one of the largest snowstorms in the history of California, where there was snow as deep as 40 feet. And this situation was really famous because pretty much with a wagon train, the roads are kind of basic, and having to clear them for yourself, they were stuck there for months to the point where a number of people starved and they had to turn to cannibalism to actually make it through that situation. And so it was called the Donner Party. So we're about to get 12 feet of snow in that area in the next few days. So it could have some of those similarities. And I've chosen to include some footage, as you'll see, of a Tesla Semi in that area having to deal with ice in those mountains. So it's a big time place, worth maybe a quick read on Wiki to learn more about it. But it is part of the history of California, and I love history, and that's part of it. So what I wanted to move on to today with our discussion of Tesla Semi is that I believe perhaps the most important piece of footage in the history of the Semi just came out, and I actually, by Google searching, found it on Teslarati. I'm including a bit of that video so you can watch some of it. Unfortunately, I am definitely going to include it. I'm going to preview you with key things that I drew from it and why I think it's so awesome and important. And please note, we did the best we could with it. The room that they shot it in was kind of an echoey one, so therefore we're going to put subtitles and we'll try to play with it to get better sound, but there's nothing that we're doing to make the video bad. So in this segment of video, we're including, I guess, the number one part. It's a 25-minute show, very much worth the time if you enjoy learning more about the Semi. What happened is that with the Semi, Pepsi has been collecting a large amount of data on every aspect of their vehicles. One issue that's sort of become clear is that Elon argued that the vehicle would go 1 million miles without requiring any service, and that's not been the experience of the folks at Pepsi. But their reaction, as you'll see in this clip, is that they're currently ready to scale. So this gets us to why it is that I'm kind of scratching my head, delaying the show, figuring out, well, what's going on here? Why is that? Well, the reason is that there are a bunch of giant companies, Pepsi, Walmart, 130 trucks ordered. You know, there are other big names that you know on the list that have ordered. DHL comes to mind. But the problem that's coming up is that Tesla Semi program is doing some very unusual things. For example, DHL got to hang out with the vehicle for 3 weeks, and they liked the data that it threw off. They've been sending engineers to ride on the Semi and collect data for the last 5 years. So therefore, having already paid the anticipatory fees to get 100 of these vehicles, it's a surprise that they aren't able to jump the line and be way up there. Number two, there's a company called Saic. It's a transport company. And unlike DHL and Costco and some of the other giant names that want to buy Tesla vehicles, Saic is one of the first companies we've seen, other than Pepsi, to have a wrap on the tractor of the Semi that says SAIA on the door. So this is kind of a surprise, because mostly what we've seen for entities like Walmart and Costco and others is just, you have all the paintings on the trailer that say one of the big customers like this, but on the front of the vehicle, it's simply an unmarked Tesla semi-truck. So I was kind of stunned, because a very small company sort of snuck ahead of the line and was able to beat out some of the big guys to actually get access to vehicles. The next thing that I'm finding like another head scratcher is, what are we going to do about inventories of semis, given that there are some very big names that have put the money in and have been waiting a very long time, to sort of a follow-on of the other question. And Elon/Tesla seems to be of the mind that they have a process they're doing, but it really doesn't fit at all with what makes sense. In particular, there are entities that have committed to 130 trucks like Walmart, but they seem to be dropping down in the line as smaller companies seem to be moving up on the line, which I definitely have to say I find strange. So at the end of this video, what you're also kind of going to see is the folks from Pepsi have indicated they'd like to scale on the Semi. What does that mean? Obviously, they've gotten 100 semis, they have them running in different situations, and they're now ready to scale up to multiple thousands of vehicles. Well, that's awesome, because they're a large customer, they've tested out the experience, they're happy with it, they're ready to move forward with the process that they're doing. The challenge is there are not enough vehicles available, and as you know, we're officially 1 year away from the new factory in Reno Sparks being finished, and that can produce at scale, perhaps 2,000 or 3,000 vehicles a month, satiating most of the supply demand that's out there. So I have to say I find this strange, because it would make more sense to probably give Pepsi all the production that's coming out now, because it's no simple matter to own a Semi. Most of the individuals or companies testing out the Semi currently are within a close proximity to where Tesla currently has charging facilities at different production facilities throughout California and the Bay Area. And in particular, there's a place called Livermore, and that's where the DHL headquarters for that area is run out of, or warehouse headquarters. And so therefore, vehicles can be charged up readily at those facilities. In the case of Costco and others, they were using charging facilities that are proximate to Tesla facilities, and that way they could get service if they needed quickly from Tesla engineers nearby, etc. So we'll show you this video, kind of looking forward to your thoughts on this. And I actually think this is really important, because it gives us an opportunity to look at ownership of the Semi from the angle of the customers, not just a viewpoint of Tesla. all the Tesla manager always says, we're terrific. Elon always says, we're terrific. But what are the customers saying? And what are they doing in terms of plans of how to integrate the Tesla in? The last item I'd like to review here is just the fact that you'll also notice that there's this thing going on with California and the Tesla Semi. California has a goal of being no more diesel trucks by 2035, and everybody has to get started in that process, and I believe Tesla is an important part of that process. So also what's happening is everybody that has to do business in California has a keen interest in getting these vehicles into inventory. And more important than all of that is the fact that the state is putting up a lot of money to subsidize the transition from the current vehicles into electric. So well done by Tesla. Enjoy the video. Again, not my fault on sound, but we've done the best we can with it. But I think the information is useful. And you can actually go back to the clip if you want to see the entire 29-minute video that was presented. At any rate, thanks for joining us. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight and the end of our semi-coverage for the day. We now move on to some health tips. The main health tip I wanted to add to our list today is side sleeping is a wise way to go, particularly on your left side. And it turns out that sleeping on your back or the right, the back has problems because it exacerbates things like sleep apnea, etc. Side sleeping, particularly on your left, has a lot of benefits that go position of heart, etc., that will benefit you. So I wanted to encourage you to try that out. Don't forget your 25 leg lifts a day, at least a 20-minute walk daily as a way to get good blood flow going, some exercise, also self-production of endorphins. So we very much look forward to your comments on all of our health tips and whether you've tried any of them and how they were working. We also would like to encourage you to take some time out to give some feedback regarding vehicles being sold near you. There was one other item that popped up relative to Tesla today I wanted to mention. We have a friend of the show who has a Plaid, and he's been really unhappy because he has a yoke for the steering wheel, and it started peeling. So one of the things he found was that you could actually go on Amazon, and there's a cover for the yoke that has to be sewn in, but you get no peeling, and it actually works great. So I just wanted to mention that as something you might want to consider as well. At any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, au revoir, le hitro, hoda have zdrajcie, nihama, konbanwa, arrivederci, namaste. And in Jamaica, we say enough respect, walk good. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day, and bye for now.
Kilometers or less per day. However, that has been a great use case, and part of that experience has been, again, the ease of drivers and that positive reaction when it comes to driving in urban cities, city streets, things like that. Everyone talks about the turn radius of the truck, which hopefully is no surprise, especially for the test drivers here. And in addition to that local Pepsi fleet, we're also having this other fleet within beverages that we refer to as transport. This is the regional long-haul fleet. So these drivers, they actually operate in a slip seat fashion, meaning that a driver has his or her shift, they start, they go, take the truck out, they may run, 800 kilometers or so within that shift, and then at that point, return to depot. There's maybe a 30, 45-minute pause, and that same truck is then taken by another driver, goes back on route. Now, and this is with heavy payload, right? When we did the run on less, for example, last year, we showed that majority of the time, we were actually total combined weight at about 35 tons. So heavy experience, positive though, really across the board. And then finally, similar to that Pepsi transport on our Frito-Lay side of the business, which you can see here actually, this is a little bit of the opposite in terms of weight, right? So hopefully to no one's surprise, that part of the business is hauling chips, which are lighter. Half or more than less than half of the weight on the beverages side mainly the regional long-haul side, is prove that electrification can work within that business. And what's very important for us is to have been able to demonstrate that heavy-duty EVs should and can mirror and replicate the